okay to have some nice stuff. Just don't let your nice stuff have you.
Mothers, if you have a 14, 15, 16-year-old girl, her dad should be in charge of her wardrobe.
The caliber of your life is going to be depending upon the choices you make right now.
Conflict becomes the price we pay for a deeper level of intimacy. Let me say that again.
This is America we live in. This is the land of opportunity. If you don't wake up and get serious about retirement, it's going to feel more like the land of dreams forgotten and the home of the broke.
Today could be the day that literally your life changes. Be open to that, receive it, and we believe it'll happen.
When we start to try to control everything around us, we get out of control of the only thing we're designed to have, which is self-control.
What gives you energy? What brings you joy? What comes easy to you? And it's so fun, you'd do it if there wasn't any money involved. Do more of those things.
You change your life when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired. When you get disgusted and you have that moment where you say, I've had it, we're done, we're changing this thing.
Boston, please welcome to the stage, host of the Dave Ramsey video channel, your smart conference host, and Boston's own, George Camel.
What's up, Boston? How we feeling today? Let's hear it over here. Okay, now we're going over here. And the nosebleeds. How we doing back there? Okay, now just the ladies. Now the men. Y'all's voices ain't that deep. Don't try to play. Come on. I'd be like, woo! That would be me back there in the crowd. It is an honor to be here in Boston. It's so good to be home. Y'all know I'm from here. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts. Thank you. Now, everyone from Boston proper gets mad at you when you say this. Let me specify. I was born in Quincy, Massachusetts. There we go, some Quincy fans, and I lived in Dedham for the first 20 years of my life. We got some Dedham folks? Did we go to high school together? Class of 07, what's up? Wow, but seriously, I miss so many things about Boston. There's a few things I don't miss. Is the big dig still happening? What is all this construction? I don't understand. It's insane. Well, I can see y'all had your Dunkin' this morning because you're awake. You're ready to go. It's early, it's a Saturday, but you're pumped up. So here's the deal. I've been in the South for almost a decade now, so all that means is I've swapped a few words. So I used to say things like, you guys. Now we just say y'all, which I think is tighter. It makes more sense to me. This guy's like clapping for that, thank you. And I used to say things like, wicked good. Now I just say, so blessed. So, just quick swaps. That's all it takes to become Southern. I can show you how to do that later on today. Do we have any celebs in the, is Matt Damon here or Ben Affleck? I feel like we're a degree away from an Affleck, Damon, Wahlberg sighting. So if anyone sees them today, with 6,000 of us, someone's got to at least know someone who knows someone. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, just a little quick bit about me. I've been on the Ramsey team now for 5 years, which is, I think, the longest held career by a millennial. So I'm very proud to hold that record. Holding strong. You know, when you find a good job, you just got to stick with it. I've had so much joy. I mean, I never thought in a million years I would be able to go work at a place where we actually do work that matters, which is why you're all here today. So it is an honor that Dave trusts me to represent us on stages like this and to host the Dave Ramsey Show video channel. How many watch over there on our video channel? YouTube, Facebook? Fantastic. We got 7.5 million of you watching on YouTube every single month. So we're so happy about that. Now, let me set up the day for you. Let me tell you what's going to happen here today over the next few minutes. This event is really an extension of who we are. It captures the spirit of what we teach, of what Dave has taught for the last 25 years, and it's going to be an incredible day. How many of you came expecting for some speaking or teaching to possibly change your life? I've got good news for you, Boston. It's going to happen, and here's the best part. All you have to do is listen and take notes. That's it. It's pretty simple. and you got to apply those principles once you leave here today. So we have some incredible minds here today to talk to you about so many important areas of your life. We've got 3 doctors alone on this roster. That's pretty impressive. So, and how about that big Beyond band? Weren't they fantastic? Give them some love. Unbelievable. Were you guys even awake during Rise Up? I mean, between Rise Up and Eye of the Tiger, I was like crying and then I wanted to run through a wall. It was just a roller coaster of emotions. They're going to be with us all day, and they're going to be super involved. So dance if the Spirit leads you, and if the Spirit is giving you a side eye and telling you to sit down, that's called your wife, and you should just sit down, gentlemen. Just sit down. That's the Spirit as well. So we want to follow that. And can we just thank Aganis Arena real quick? Their crew has been amazing to work with. What a cool place to have our Smart Conference, our first one of 2018. So here's the deal. We've got a sold-out show. So if you've got some seats next to you, if you wouldn't mind just standing up and scooting over and making a friend today. They're all nice people. They're Dave Ramsey folks, so you know they're good folk. So if you would just stand up, if you've got a bunch of seats next to you, we want to make sure we've got room for everyone that's coming in, all the latecomers. So we appreciate that so much. So for the next few minutes, I'm going to tell you some things you need to know, and I'm going to give away some stuff. You guys like free stuff? Of course you do. You're Ramsey fans. That's always in your every dollar budget. So I'm just going to get something out of the way. Now, this is an embarrassing thing, so I like to just out the gate with it. It's me throwing a football, which, I mean, I know I look athletic, but you'd be surprised. So I need to find out who wants a football. These footballs are special. Here's the deal. They have vouchers attached that are good for free product. Yep. So here we go. This one's good for 1 free book. Who wants it? Who wants it? I'm going deep. Oh, unbelievable. Oh, must have been a Bills fan. Must have been a Bills fan back there, just right there, just missed it on the first. Okay, this one's good for 2 free books. Who wants that one? Let's go over there. Oh, there it is. Decent. Oh, unbelievable. Gosh. All right, and the last one I have is good for 3 books. 3 books. Who wants it? Who wants it? We're going over here. Wow, that's pretty decent. Oh, I'm sorry. That just literally went to nobody. Okay. We'll try again later. Now, I do have one more thing to give away that is so much better than books. This is valued at $500. Valued. Hey, don't get too excited yet. You don't know what it is, folks. So as some of you know, Ramsey Solutions is based out of Nashville, where everybody and their barista is a musician, and that includes myself. So I was a musician in a prior life, and I still am today, and I'm proud of an album that I have. Anyone like music? So I don't have any, best-selling books like our speakers today, but I do have a non-best-selling album, if anyone would like that. Here we go. Okay. Who wants it? Who likes indie music, folk music? This lady was very excited. I'm going to have to toss it, because we don't have insurance for this kind of stuff if one of you gets hurt. You don't get workers' comp for that. Okay, let me sign that for you, ma'am, right here. Very kind. Okay, here we go. Now, this is worth even less on eBay now once I sign it, so don't try and sell it. There you go. Also, my parents, oh, thank you. My parents are in the crowd here today. They're very thankful. They've got boxes of these taking up space in their basement. Let's give it up for my parents over there. They're very kind to be here today. Come here early on a Saturday just to see their son. I try to wear my Saturday best for mom, so she said I look cute. That's good. You don't want to see what I look like on Sunday. If you think this is good, you just wait and see if you're here tomorrow. So we had a lot of fun throwing some footballs. I'm a little winded, so I just need to take a quick breather here. Okay, we're good. So I have more stuff to give away, including cash. Now, you guys saw that snarky screen video that we played. That was a lot of fun. And they explained to you everything you need to know. So you know that if you hand in that Smart Moves card, we're going to give one of you $500 cash for turning that in. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good day's work. What do you think? So if you feel good about that, we're going to go ahead and start passing those to the aisle. And our volunteers are stationed here, and they are ready to collect those. So if you want to just tear those out if you haven't already, we'll have 1 or 2 more opportunities to pass that in. But if you're ready to go, just hand that down the aisle. Oh, I love the hubbub. This is fun. Gives me a chance to catch my breath. And you saw that Xander Insurance and Protective Life want to up the ante today. They're going to double that. They're going to give you $1,000 cash just for getting a term life quote. Yeah, you can clap for that. That's amazing. Very kind of them to do that. All you're doing is getting a quote. You're not signing up for anything. Super simple. So we encourage you to do that. XanderInsurance.com/Dave. You can pull out your smartphone right now and do that. Super simple. Rates are really low right now. And I do want to mention 2 organizations. You saw that video that Dave and Rachel walked you through. There's 2 organizations that are on your cards that were not in the video, and that's Lumerit Scholar. They help you graduate college debt-free, very cool organization, and Lyft. Our friends at Lyft want you to get out of debt, create some extra income, and driving with Lyft is a great option here in New England if you're brave enough to drive. I don't know what that rotary thing is we hit yesterday. It was like 9 cars all trying to get in one lane on Store Drive. Y'all need to figure some stuff out. You're smart people. Get the engineers on it. All right, so we had some fun there. Now, I love giving away other people's money. It's one of the ways I practice generosity, so I'm excited to flex that muscle later today. It's so easy and fun when it's not yours. So, I'm a big social media guy. Anyone on social media out there? 12 of you. This is going to be fun. Well, here's the deal. We're going to give you more opportunities to win if you're active on social media. So I'm on Instagram and Twitter at George Camel if you want to follow me there. Now, throughout the day, as you're posting pictures or jotting down quotes or taking selfies with whoever you came with, if you're by yourself, that's fine too, no judgment. You're going to use the hashtag SmartConf. It's hard to say, easy to type. Just conf with an F, C-O-N-F, SmartConf. And we're going to be giving out prizes. So our social media team is backstage, and they are following this stuff really closely. They're posting stuff of their own, and they're going to be tagging people on Twitter, announcing winners. So make sure you're tuned to that. You can follow them at Dave Ramsey Live on Twitter. They're going to be making announcements and announcing winners there, and on Instagram at Dave Ramsey Live with great photos throughout the day, speaker quotes, so you don't want to miss that. Now, I like to start the day with what I have coined the Velfie. Has anyone heard of a Velfie? It's a video selfie. And so I wanted to take what I think might be the Guinness World Record for largest Velfie of all time with 6,000 of my friends here in Boston. Would you guys be a part of that with me? Okay, here we go. So I'm going to tee it up, and then when I turn around, you all need to go absolutely crazy, okay? It's really simple. Here we go. And I'm going to give you some pro tips here because I see some of y'all's Facebook profile pictures, and it's sad. You can do better. So here's what you want. You want to hold it up, get a nice high angle. You don't want the double chin to show. And then you just want to tap to focus. And then you want to hold a smile. You don't want to start the video out with a frowny face. So here we go. There it is. I'm here in Boston, Massachusetts at Agganis Arena for Dave Ramsey's Smart Conference, and 6,000 of my friends are about to get wicked smart, aren't they? Yeah, they are. Oh, I love it. That was so fun. It took me a while to pan. My arm got tired. That's amazing. So you can find that on my Instagram and Twitter later. I'll be posting that using the hashtag SmartConference. So you can find yourself. It's like a Where's Waldo edition at Smart Conference here. So that will be a lot of fun. Now, quick bit about lunch. Some of you I can see are already getting hungry. Here's the deal with lunch. If you don't want to leave and fight the crowds and get out in the cold, we have boxed lunches available for those of you who want to stick around. This is how that works. You can place your order in the concourse at sections 103 and 113. So that's like right there and right there. And then you're going to pick that order up behind me up at Concourse 118. So you might want to jot that down in your workbook if that's something you're interested in. 103, 113 during the first break. You're going to have up to the first break, so make sure you do that during that first break if you want a boxed lunch, and you'll pick it up at 118. Great. Whoa, something happened behind me. That was scary. I get spooked easily. Okay, so we had some fun. I told you all the things, and now it's time to get a little serious. We're about to get started. You guys feeling good? You warmed up? Yes. She's ready. Wasn't even done. She was like, yes, get off the stage, please. This is great. I gave you an album, ma'am. Settle down. Okay. Well, as I look around here today, I see a lot of faces, and most of them I don't know. I don't know your story, and I will not know your story, but I do know this. You all decided to be here today because you felt you needed to be here. And heck, even if you were dragged here, I believe you're here for a reason. I truly do. And I want to encourage you today, that today could be the beginning of a new path. In a room this size, 6,000 people, we've probably made some dumb decisions. Raise a show of hands, dumb decisions in the room. Fairly honest people here in Boston. Here's the good news. We can learn from those dumb decisions. We can move forward. So today's a day of learning, but we don't want to just give you information and have you leave here. We want to also encourage you. Because your story matters. You matter. The people you're leading, the spouse you're doing life with, the kids you're parenting, it all matters so very much. So no matter how you were feeling coming in here, I know it's early, it's a full Saturday. We want you to unplug and focus in on the teaching because we truly believe it can change the trajectory of your life. And you're busy, hardworking people. You spent money and time to be here, an entire Saturday nonetheless. So we so appreciate that. So we thought it would only be fitting to start the day off with the man who started it all. Yes, I'm excited too. And for the last 5 years, I've had the pleasure of working for him, and I've watched him lead over 700 team members with integrity and passion. Now, I could talk about his accolades all day, the millions of books sold, third largest talk radio show in America. But what I love about this man is that it's not about the accolades. A better indicator of success for him is number of lives changed. Yes. All of those accolades are simply a byproduct of helping other people, of providing hope. He's the head and the heart behind this event, and he's going to get this day started off like no one else. So Boston, Massachusetts, please rise up on your feet and welcome to the stage, Dave Ramsey.
Boston! Wow! You guys are on fire! Wow! Welcome. You guys are fun. Man, oh man, thank you guys. Thank you. Wow, we have got an incredible day lined out here that blows my mind. You see, what I have experienced is things that you have experienced. One of those things is this. Did you know that momentum in your personal life, in your career, is an interesting thing? When you've got momentum, you know, like when you're in a zone, like everything's coming easy, you know those times in your life when that right there, yeah. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, when you got momentum, you look better than you are. And when you ever been in a situation where you don't have momentum? Like where everything is going wrong. Your life looks like a country song. You know what I'm talking about. Did you know that when you don't have momentum that you are better than you look right then? Looks can be deceiving. I got to tell you, around Ramsey Solutions right now, we got momentum, baby. I mean, everything we touch right now is exploding. We are in a zone. We are good, but we're not as good as we look. We are good, though. We're having a blast. And this started happening a few years ago on the radio show. The radio show started getting momentum. We started having millions and millions of listeners, hundreds and hundreds of cities carrying the show, and the books are bestsellers, and we're having, we're filling up arenas and this kind of stuff. And we were just having a blast, man. We were running around, and all of a sudden, I don't know, maybe a decade or a little bit more ago, the thing kind of hit critical mass with momentum. And I started having these like famous people call me. And I'm like, you got like a wrong number. I'm from Antioch, Tennessee. Famous people don't call me, I'm not that guy. I'm just on the radio yakking, And so, first I'm in Nashville, of course, and so it's like the country music stars. And they're all like, hey, you want to come over? I'm like, come over for what? You like need your oil changed? Or, no, man, like you and your wife for dinner. And I'm like, with like you and all your Grammys? Yeah, sure. Yeah. But my real heroes, because I'm such a reader and such a personal growth fanatic, junkie, my real heroes are people that write and communicate in such a way that it intersects your life and informs you and inspires you to change. Because they're the ones that have changed my life. You ever read a great book, change your life? And then I get to meet the author because of this stuff I'm talking about. And I'd be like reading a book and I would say on the air, this book is incredible. And like 20 minutes later, the publisher's calling and going, we heard that you said the book was good. Can we introduce you to the author? And I'm like, yeah. I'll fanboy that up, you bet. Yeah. And so I end up meeting my heroes, is what it amounts to, in the personal transformation space. And more than that, over the years, have become good friends with them. And they're some of my best friends on the planet, but they're also world-class authors, world-class speakers and communicators, world-class business people and just, media figures. They're everything. And then we've grown up these Ramsey personalities on our team, and they're world-class as well, yeah. And the same situation there, and of course, they have to be my friends. They're on my payroll. But we have a blast together, y'all. We really do. And so a few years ago, we started talking about what if we addressed a whole bunch of different areas of our lives, not just money, but marriage and parenting and boundaries and careers and some of these other things with some of these people that have influenced all of us. And what if we put them all in one room? And I thought, I wonder if there's any way that if I called them that they would actually come. We pay them a speaker's fee, but if they would actually, because they're really hard to book. They're booked on everything, speaking-wise. They're just all over the place. We called, boom. They're like, every one of them were like, in 20 seconds, yes, and if I have something else, I'll move it. We're there. And y'all, we've had the most fun doing these events. It is, and it's all because of momentum that I got to do it. Because of the momentum we had, we were able to align and become friends with these people, and now we've done events with them. You guys, what you paid for this today was an absolute ripoff. You ripped me off. What you paid today, you should pay to hear any one of these people. And you would in a lot of other venues, in a lot of other situations. A $70 ticket or something to hear Dr. Henry Cloud, who's had multiple bestsellers and is a thought leader in all of psychology and boundaries and world-class communicator, and Les Parrott on marriage. You're going to love Les. He's a world-class communicator, too. I'm going to say that over and over because they all are. Ken Coleman is speaking today. The Ken Coleman Show on Sirius XM Radio. Brand new Ramsey personality. And, man, we are jacked about that. This guy is on fire. You're going to love his material. And, of course, the voice, America's voice of retirement, Chris Hogan, right? Yeah, bring it, baby. And America's mom, Dr. Meg Meeker, man. Woo! Yeah, you don't do it. This is amazing stuff, and man, it's just going to be incredible. Couple programming notes, though. One is we switched some stuff around in your workbook when you get there after a while. Anthony O'Neill, our Ramsey personality, huge announcement today. This guy speaks to teenagers all over America. Let me tell you, if you can talk to teenagers and keep their attention, you can talk to freaking anybody, all right? This guy is a world class. He brings it on the stage. But a couple programming notes. One is we switched Meg. In your workbook, it's one way, but we switched Meg and Anthony. So when you get there, just skip over and then go back, and we meant to do it. It wasn't an accident. You don't have to go, well, what happened? No, we changed it's what happened. Okay, so the other thing is this, and this is wild as it can be. Christy Wright, that does Business Boutique, is the creator of Business Boutique. Yeah, she's incredible. So she's getting on an airplane to go to Salt Lake City, change planes, I won't say the name of the thing, but anyway, she changed planes in Chicago, and a gentleman was putting his suitcase above her and dropped it wheels first, 40 pounds on the top of her head, and gave her a concussion. And so, this woman is, she's a trooper. She actually got out, they went to a clinic and everything, and went on stage the next day and did the event, and then we flew her right back home. But she's still a little dizzy, and so we said, no, you're not coming today. So she's out today. So we're going to fill up the time. We got it covered. Don't worry, you're going to have a great time. And those of you that love Christy like all of us do, you can, pray for her. She's okay. She went to the neurologist yesterday again, and she's getting a good report. If you know anything about concussions, it just takes some time, y'all. So she's going to be okay. But any of you that would like, George is going to give you instructions later to fill out a thing, and we will email you her talk from the last SMART conference, free of charge, obviously. If you would like to see it, it's an incredible talk, and I'm really sorry y'all are missing it today. But, we love all y'all, but we love Christy more. She stayed home, okay? So that's how that works. And so there's always another SMART conference. There's always another time to yak, right? We got plenty of life going here. So marriage, parenting, boundaries, retirement, money, career, all of these things together. I don't know about you, but every one of those books became instruction manuals for my life. I needed to learn about marriage. When I got married, I was stupid. I needed to learn about raising kids. When I had kids, I panicked. I'm like, where's the manual? And Meg Meeker's written the manual. and we'll speak to you about the manuals that she's written, and so on. And these things, information and inspiration changes the trajectory of your life. God's ways of thinking about things, when it enters your life, it changes the direction of your life. And that's what we're here to give you today. It's incredible. And so how many of you would agree with me that when it comes to any one of these subjects, whether it's money, marriage, parenting, just psychology, boundaries, career, that every one of us could learn something and do better starting today, including me? And for those of you that didn't raise your hand, Henry Cloud's going to do a talk on integrity later. But, I mean, we all could, right? We can all learn something. So as George told you, we got about 700 folks on our team, and we've got an incredible team, y'all. But a few years ago, I had a young man working for me, and he was doing the stuff he was doing wrong. And so I'm like, hey, dude, don't do it that way. Do it this way. Now, in our culture today, people have this idea that somehow they get to make up their own version of truth. Like, well, this is my way of doing it. I'm like, no, that's wrong. See, I grew up in an age when we thought that there was good and evil, truth and lie, right and wrong. And you don't get to make yours up, you know? And so, and I'm looking at this guy, I said, don't do it that way, do it this way. And he looks at me and he goes, oh, okay. I come back later, he's doing it wrong again. I'm like, hey, don't do it that way. Do it this way. All right. I come back, he's doing it wrong again. I'm like, son, we are going to set you free in Jesus' name. You do not get to stay here if you will not change this. And there's a right way to do this, a wrong way to do this. You're doing it the wrong way. This is about the last time I'm going to talk to you about this. You're going to do it this way. And he looks at me and he says, I'm not like you. I said, I know. I'm right and you're wrong. And I think you should change. And he said, what do you mean? I said, change. Isn't it interesting that God gives us the dignity and the power to just decide at any moment in our lives, at any point in our lives, that something's not going right? We can just decide to change. You ever been walking the wrong way, running the wrong way, going the wrong way, and you suddenly realize it's the wrong way? You stop and change. Those of us that are Christians, we call that repentance. You're going the wrong way. This isn't working. This isn't God's ways of doing it. This is dumb. This is messing up my relationships. This is messing up my career. This is messing up my money. Stop. Change. You can just decide to do that. You ever met someone that without a patch or without a program just said, I quit smoking? And they did? You ever met somebody that did that? I've met a lot of people do that. They just decided to change. I had a friend, his marriage was almost gone. I mean, he was a twerp. And he looked in the mirror one day and he went, you're a twerp. And he just decided. He went from one of the world's worst husbands to one of the world's best husbands in about 6 months. He just changed. You can just decide. Isn't that amazing? You really can. Now, you can't grow 6 inches, but you can decide to change your behaviors, your beliefs, and your habits, and therefore your results will change. And we've all messed up, but we all have a great opportunity. And today, we're going to have a lot of opportunities to change. That's what we're going to do. So, this week we celebrated is not the right word, memorialized the assassination 50 years ago of Dr. Martin Luther King. And I've watched many of you have probably seen several of the things this week that have come out too. And I've read almost all of the books I could get my hands on by him or about him. Incredible intellect, but as a speaker, his speaking was to be studied. I mean, there's even a TED Talk studying the cadence of the I Have a Dream speech. I mean, it was to say iconic is an understatement. But I think he has a good quote that we can use to set up our day-to-day. The quote is this: if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. That's what we're going to do today. Getting started and deciding to change is the first step, and then the change is a journey. It's a process. It's not instant. We're not selling any microwaves here. We're in the crock pot business. But we got a really good recipe on all these different subjects, and you're going to have a blast with it today. Your mistakes that you've made, they're in your rearview mirror. That's called grace. We're looking out the windshield today. We look in the rearview mirror to make sure some idiot's not tailgating, but we're going forward. We got stuff to do, people to see, and lives to change. All of us, you and me. And that's what we're going to be doing today. Our first speaker, lead-off hitter, that means he's big dog, right? He is a big dog. He's incredible. He's going to be introduced first with a video, and then when he comes up here, I want you guys to go crazy like he had like a formal introduction, because the video kind of throws it off. So watch the video, but then go crazy when they announce him, okay? Y'all see how that works? I'm going ahead and setting you up on what you're supposed to do. Okay, so, but this guy is one of the world's best minds on the subject of relationships. He's put together more surveys, analysis, algorithms, processes to pull in, and you'll learn about some of those things. He's a best-selling book, or best-selling author, obviously, multiple best-selling author. He and his wife live in Seattle. They have become really good friends. We spent the whole day with him yesterday. Absolutely incredible. So watch this, and then we're going to bring up Dr. Les Parrott.
It all started when we got married.
Do we want to talk about that?
Let's not talk about that one.
An angry wife right here. What's wrong with you?
Oh, I get it.
What?
What do we usually fight about and why?
Stupid stuff. She cannot wash my clothes.
Money, sex, and what's the third one?
Ex-girlfriends and
Ex-boyfriend.
Because it was going to be rude if we just pushed them out of our lives.
He smiled at me and said hi, and you went into a jealous rage.
money, sex, and money.
Yeah, basically.
When she gets mad, the first thing she want to do is throw a blow. Throw a right hook.
And it usually happens around a certain time of the month.
That is so not true.
That's true. And that's why I tell you to mark your calendar.
Sex, money. But I did throw a bucket at you.
Against the wall.
And he picked it up and he smashed it.
I said, this is how I feel.
We didn't talk for 48 hours.
Money. Oh, anyway.
Or sex, money, sex.
Time out. What are you talking about?
You didn't think I was listening to your ideas.
You don't listen? I'll repeat myself. I feel like I have to repeat myself a lot.
You forget about everything.
Huh?
And then you'll forget, and then the argument.
Like an elephant, I never forget.
And I remember everything.
Well, it's never money for sex, which that's
basically.
That's good. You
bad.
did not just say that.
That is bad.
That's why we're doing so well.
This was like 2 confessions.
Oh, anyway, yeah, that's basically it.
2 things.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Dr. Les Parrott.
Hey, how you doing? Thank you. Thank you very much. I got a question for you. How many of you have ever had a conflict with the person you're seated next to? Raise your hands. Keep them up. I want you to look around this room. You see all the people that don't have their hands up? What do we call them? That's right. Just want to get that settled right off the top. Hey, I like to know a little bit about my audience. Anybody engaged to be married in here? Stand up if you're engaged. Stand up. Wow, you're excited about it. Right there. Fantastic. All over the place. Up there, I see you. Congratulations, you guys. How about couples that are not quite engaged, but you're on the edge of commitment? All right. How about singles just hoping to have a date sometime in the next year? All right. Right here on the front row. I like it. Wow. You're seated next. Do you guys know each other? All right. Well, want to introduce yourselves? Hey, how about newlyweds, like you've been married less than a year? Stand up if you've been married less than a year. Awesome. Congratulations, you guys. How about couples that have been married more than a year? Stand up, stand up. I love how the other people are clapping. More than a year. Incredible. Keep standing, keep standing. If you've been married more than 5 years, keep standing. More than 10 years, keep standing. Some of you are going up and down. 15 years. 20 years. By the way, I'm talking about being married to the same person consecutively. 25, 30 years of marriage or more. Yeah? This guy's looking at me like, just keep going, punk. 40 years of marriage or more, keep standing. Some of you are doing the math. 45, keep standing. Who's still standing? Help me out, right over here. Where else? I'm gonna go for a big one. 50 years of marriage or more, keep standing. Help me, where are they? Right here? Anybody else? Are you it? Is there anybody else besides this guy? How long have you been married? 56 years? Can anybody beat 56 years? You can? How long have you been married? 60? Keep standing. I know you're tired. Keep standing, though. By the way, you can sit down. She's been married way longer than you have. 60, can anybody beat 60 years of marriage? All right, we got a Buick for you. It's out in the parking lot. No. I wish we did. That's incredible. I should at least give you a book. This will change everything for the two of you. I wrote a book. I think you're going to like it. It's called Crazy Good Sex. I wrote this a few years ago. I want you. Hand that back to her. Take it back to her, would you? Stand up and take it back to her. Yeah. There we go. Awesome. That's fantastic. Give her another hand. That's 60 years of marriage. Well, it's 33 for Leslie and me. And by the way, I should tell you, I'm a Boston boy. I grew up, where are my folks from Quincy, Wollaston Bay. Yeah. I grew up here in the 70s when we had Bostonians like Bobby Orr and John Havlicek, Cheevers, Yastrzemski. It was incredible. You guys remember those people? All right, just making sure. But man, I love being back in Boston. It's so fantastic. We've been married 33 years. We have the same name. I'm Leslie and she's Leslie, and it's confusing. That's just the way God planned it for us. It's even more complicated because I'm the third. That means my dad's name is Leslie. My grandfather's name is Leslie. I'm married to Leslie. So when we had our first son, we named him John. John Leslie. Hey, this is gonna be fun. I'm gonna talk to you about conflict, and we got 2 rounds. I'm gonna give you a little taste of this. 2 rounds, and the first round, we're gonna talk about why do we fight with the person that we love the most? And then we're going to get into the second round. We start with a why, by the way, because that sets up the how. It gives us a more powerful how, and that's what round 2 is devoted to. How to fight with the person you love the most. I'm going to show you how you can use conflict. Smart people will leverage conflict to their advantage to bring them closer together. I know that sounds really paradoxical. It is so true. It really is. And so that's the game plan. All in favor, say aye. All right, and as we jump into round one here, let's just make sure, not just for this session of mine, but for all the speakers coming up today, let's make sure y'all have the right attitude. Just turn to somebody near you and just say these words. When you think about Smart Conference, just turn to them and say, you really need this. You feel better, don't you? We all need this. Hey, what do you guys fight about? Holler it out. Money. That's the number one source of conflict in relationship is money. What else? Kids. Time. Driving, I heard. Who said sex? Stand up. Right here on the front row? You're a single guy too, right? I'm out. Isn't it true we fight about anything and everything? I mean, generally speaking, it takes very little for the fur to fly in most relationships, the littlest of things. You know, how we drive, get in the left lane. I am in the left lane, right? Where's my pen? I didn't touch your pen, right? Just looking for my pen, right? We fight about, you're gonna think I'm making this up. I had a guy in my office, this couple, they were fighting about how he breathed. I kid you not. We fight about anything, and it doesn't matter how loving you are. Nobody's exempt. My favorite verse in all of Scripture on conflict, Romans 12, verse 18 says, if it is possible, as far as it depends on you, try to live at peace with everyone. Isn't that a good verse? You know why I like that verse? I don't know of another verse in all of Scripture that has more qualifiers in it than that single verse. Even Scripture's acknowledging we're going to have conflict. If it's possible, as far as it depends on you, try, give it a shot, do what you can, you know. But you're going to have conflict. And so the question is, what do we do about that? Now, to kind of put your mind into this, I want to tell you about a fight that Leslie and I had early on in our marriage. We call it a defining fight. Those are the fights that you don't forget, right? And they tend to be on the early front side of marriage because we're still finding our way together. I think we've been married less than 2 years, and we were living in Los Angeles, going to graduate school together, and we decided we had a long weekend. We're going up to see San Francisco for the very first time with another couple, Randy and Pam. We'd never been there before, and we just thought this is going to be so fun, and we drove up, and we thought the first thing we got to do is hop on one of those cable cars. You know, it's iconic. We got to do that. How many have ever ridden a cable car in San Francisco? Oh, all right. Lots of you. Well, you all done something we never did do. But we tried, man. We tried. We went down. It seemed like everybody in the city had the same idea that morning, and we're standing in line, and Leslie and Pam, they're talking away, and Randy looks at me and goes, brother, we're going to be here all day. You have any ideas? I said, actually, I do. He said, what do you mean? I said, we can go up to the top of the hill here. When the thing crests the hill, the mechanics kind of slow down. I think you can just jump on. You don't have to wait in the line. He said, are you serious? You can do that? I said, absolutely, you can do that. And I was confident because I'd grown up watching that Rice-A-Roni commercial. And so they follow me to the top of the hill, and we're waiting for the cable car to come along. It comes along, it's packed full of people, but we jump on that thing, and Randy and I are like, high five, man, we did it, we can't believe it, and we're riding along, and we look around like, hey, where's our wives? We see them standing a block away down there. They didn't get on. We hopped off. Girls, what happened? Why didn't you get on? They said it didn't stop. No, it doesn't stop. It just slows down. You got to jump on there. They said there's no room. There's people everywhere. We said you just got to find something to grab onto. It's San Francisco. Just grab onto something, you know? So, all right, we get it. And Pam, she's like, man, she's super motivated, and she's like ready, and she's like on the lookout, waiting for it to come over the hill. Anyway, it comes for the second time. We all jump on this thing again, but Pam is so excited about doing this time. She like over jumps. She stumbles a little bit, and I'm up there, and I see she's falling. She falls off. Leslie watches this. She doesn't even get on because she's so afraid of seeing what Pam's doing. I hop off and see that Pam's in danger. I pull her kind of out of the way, and she's got her knees, a bloody knee, and her jeans are ripped, and she's kind of now sitting on and Randy doesn't see any of this. He rides off in a couple blocks. And he finally figures it out. He comes back. I'm like, dude, check out your wife, you know? And he says, Pam, are you okay? And she goes, I guess so. He goes, all right, well, let's catch the next one. And so at this point, Leslie says, this isn't a good idea. I don't like this. This is not safe. I said, hey, listen, I've got on this thing 2 out of 2 times. I said, I know we can get on this thing. I said, in fact, let's make it easy. You just hold on to my arm. As long as I get on, I'm going to make sure you get on with me. She said, no, I'm not doing that. That doesn't sound good. I said, can you just trust me? She goes, okay, I'll trust you. Randy and Pam, they have their own little powwow, and the cable car comes along, and sure enough, we start to, as we're running towards it, and we're getting ready to jump on, Leslie, she's holding on to my arm. As we're getting close, she goes, it's not going to work. Call it off. I said, it's going to work, and I hop up on there and kind of pull her with me. She goes, it's not going to work. I said, it's worked. We're here. She says, we're not going to make it. She yanks me off of the cable car, jumps off. She said, I told you we weren't going to make it. I am so infuriated. I've spent half my vacation trying to get on this stupid cable car. And I just shout the very first thing that pops in my head. And I said, I have a brain, you know. It seemed like really important information at the time to me. And then I hollered out, all you had to do was trust me. Well, Leslie, in that moment, hollered back something to me. All these years later, I've never let her forget this. She hollered this in this very high-pitched voice, and she said, I trust God for my safety. I don't trust you. Who says that? So spiritual. So at this point, Randy and Pam, they had caught the car. They hopped off because we didn't make it. They're coming back, and we're going at it, and they are coming back to kind of greet us, and they did one of these numbers. Ooh, leave them alone, okay. Right? Have you ever had a fight like that? Thank goodness we don't have too many fights like that these days, but that was a defining fight. We'll never forget. Nobody is immune. We all have conflict. Doesn't matter how loving you are. And why? Why is it that we fight with the person that we love the most? Well, if I had to kind of sum it up in a single word, I think it would be this one. You can write it down. It's perception. Perception. So many of our conflicts are due to how we perceive an experience versus how the other person perceives the experience. This is true in marriage or any other relationship, by the way. Let me illustrate it. You can see up here I have an image of 2 dogs, but if you look closely in between those 2 dogs, you might see something else from the city where I live in Seattle. Do you see it? You see the Space Needle? How many of you see the Space Needle and the 2 dogs at the exact same time? Okay, actually you do not. Because it is literally impossible to see them both at the exact same moment. You can flicker back and forth in a millisecond, but literally one has to be the figure, one has to be the ground, and we can't see them both at the exact same time. And how many times do we do that in our relationships? I know exactly what you're talking about. Just quit talking, all right? You've said it a million times. I get it, right? Do you? Because sometimes we think we see that and this at the same time, but do we? Really, you know? Here's another one. This is an image of a dog. It's actually a photograph. And if you've seen it before, you can see the dog immediately. If you've never seen it before, you're going, what dog? His nose is right in the middle. His body goes off to the right. You see the dog? It's a Dalmatian. How many see the dog? Okay, good. Help the person next to you see the dog. You see it? Once you see it, it just locks into place. How many still don't see the dog? Quite a few of you. All right. Let me show you where it is. By the way, this is an image that is used in a pretty sophisticated IQ test we use as psychologists to... No, I'm just kidding you. This has nothing to do with IQ or smarts, but just take a look up there and you're going to see this. There he is, right? Did you hear that word? Do you hear that sound? Let's all make it again on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. That's an incredible sound. That is one of the greatest sounds in a relationship. Oh, I didn't know. I'm seeing it from your perspective for the first time. Incredible sound. Now, here's the interesting thing. Once you see this dog, I can take that blue away. You still see the dog. You don't have to go, wait, where'd he go? right? You still see them because your mind has drawn some conclusions. Literally, you have drawn a line where no line exists up there on the image. And so you can see that dog. But we do the same thing to each other in our relationships. So we go, oh yeah, I know exactly why you did that. Because you always do that and you always have, right? And you never pick up your clothes. Oh yeah, well you always make us late, right? And we draw these boundaries around each other, these boxes around each other, and don't let each other out because that's the way it all has to do with perception. Now, this isn't just armchair psychology. We know this from research. In fact, a massive study at Baylor University showed us these two reasons: perceived threat and perceived neglect. Every conflict we have is the result of one of these two perceptions. You can jot that down right there in your notes. Perceived threat or perceived neglect. Every single conflict, one or the other, or sometimes the combination of both of them. Perceived threat, when you feel like this person is controlling you and you're not the boss of me, right? And they're demanding and maybe even attacking, right? And then you have perceived neglect, where it just feels like, man, it doesn't even feel like you're on my team. It feels like you're not with me here. You know, where's the support? And it feels like you're being selfish and all the rest. And so one of these two reasons. Now, you can look at these and they seem a little daunting, right? Especially like, how often does perceived threat happen? More than you would guess. It really does. I'm in a small group. I've been in it for 10 years. We call it the 5% Club. And it's about 7 other guys. We've been meeting for 10 years, every other Tuesday for 2 hours over lunch, long lunch. And we call it the 5% Club because it's devoted to the 5% of our life we don't broadcast to everybody else. And we only have 2 rules in the group. One is that we never give advice. And that can be tough for guys because guys like to give advice. And so unless somebody asks for it, we don't do it. And number 2 is whatever we talk about in that room never leaves that room. Confidentiality, that is paramount for a successful group like this. I want to tell you about something that happened in there with John. Because I asked for very special permission from him to share this, as well as his wife, Lila. It so perfectly illustrates perceived threat. It was a Saturday. They were putting up a little picture, not a little picture, a big picture above their headboard in their master bedroom. Lila, this slight little woman, is standing up there on the pillows, and she's trying to get that thing. And John's down at the foot of the bed, and he's got a pencil, and he's going to come up there and mark it, you know, and he's going, Lila, a little bit lower. No, that's too low, too low. I know, John, but this thing's really heavy, and my arms are hurting. I know, Lila, but if you get it right, I'll come up there and mark it, and we can move on. I know, but it's not so easy. Just a little more to the left. That's too much again. You got to keep it. If you keep it still, I can tell you, you're moving it too much. John, I don't like your attitude. That tone. I don't like that tone. Right? Have you been there before? Yeah, we've all been there before. She goes, I don't want to do this anymore. I just don't like your attitude right now. He goes, let's make this easy. He says, I can tell it's hard to stand up there on those pillows. He said, why don't you step over onto the nightstand? He said, stand on the nightstand and then lean in, brace your body up against the wall like that and hold that painting up there. And she said, well, there's no room on your nightstand. He said, what are you talking about, honey? There's like a lamp and 3 books. This is the next thing she said. I hate your books. And then she kicked him off of the nightstand. You know, if you knew Lila, you would go, what? That doesn't compute. But, you know, that's what happens when we're perceiving threat, whether it was meant or not. He's trying to just solve the problem, get on with life. Didn't look like that to her. Well, what about perceived neglect? How do you think Leslie felt when we were trying to catch that cable car in San Francisco? Like, hey, you should be looking out for my safety. It doesn't feel like you're on my team here. You're forcing me into this uncomfortable situation. Write it down. Every conflict we have is due to how we perceive that particular situation. Perceived threat or perceived neglect. Now, that's not the only reason that we have conflict. There's another one. In fact, this particular reason has been growing like a mountain range. I mean, there is so much research behind this now, it's very difficult to argue with it. Liberal researchers, conservative research, everybody tends to, I'll just put it up on the screen for you. Everybody seems to agree with this. Write it down. Men and women are different. We are so different. You know, even if you just consider our brains and how the two hemispheres of how our brains are connected. The thing that connects us is this little piece of flesh. It's called the corpus callosum. You've probably heard of that before. It's what allows us to communicate from one hemisphere to the other, and it's very different between the genders. For women, it's very fibrous, very thick, and they communicate. It's like in fact, research called it a superhighway of communication, because women can go from one hemisphere to the other. And guys, have you ever had this experience? You're like in a nice little restaurant someplace, maybe up in the North End, you're getting some Italian food, and it's just this cozy little, restaurant, and the two of you, and like the whole universe is just at this table for you guys right now. But every once in a while, she'll clue you in on a conversation that's happening 2 tables away. You ever had that? It's not because she's being nosy. That's how God designed her brain to pay attention. That's why a woman can hear a baby cry before a man does, and she can just absorb an environment more quickly than a guy does, because she's kind of surveying that. And for a guy, his brain, that corpus callosum, is much more, it's thinner and not nearly as dense, and it's not a superhighway. In fact, the researchers say it's more like a little country lane between the two hemispheres. And that's not a put down. It's just that's what allows guys to really focus, to filter things out and really focus. I noticed this even as a kid here growing up in Boston. I'd come into the living room and Dad would, be watching back in the day like Walter Cronkite on the news, and I could be like 5 feet from him. Dad? Hey, Dad? Dad? Right? You couldn't get through. It's like he and Walter are one right now. You're not going to break that bond, right? But it's so true. That's what allows a guy, and it even impacts, by the way, our peripheral vision. Women have a wider peripheral vision than men. We still have that tunnel kind of vision that allows us to focus. Women have this experience. Your man's in the kitchen, and he says, hey, I'm going to make a sandwich. And you say, great. He says, where's the mustard? And you say, well, it's in the refrigerator. That's where we've kept it for 18 years now. And he's standing in front of the fridge, and he's got both doors open. He goes, I know it's in the fridge. I'm looking right in here. I don't see any mustard. And you say, it's on the right side. It's on the door about eye level. I'm looking right there. There's no mustard. You say, it's yellow, right? And eventually you get up. You see it now, right? Men and women are so different. We don't even have the same goal for a conversation. Do you know that? Let me ask the men in here. Let me ask the women. Women, what's the number one goal that men have in a conversation with you? What is the number one goal a husband has in a conversation with his wife? Get to the point, I'm hearing? Yeah. No, the number one thing he wants is sex. Now, well, got a whistle over there. I like it. No, it's actually what researchers call report talk. Men like, and this is important for women to understand, we like to be in the know. We want the information. I'll fly home to Seattle tomorrow morning, and when I get home, I might even literally say to Leslie, hey, give me the report. Bring me up to speed. How are the boys, right? Where's the mail? What's for dinner tonight? In other words, give me the information I need to function in this home this evening, right? That's the report. We don't need all the fluff. We don't need any bunny trails. Just get to the report. Women, you ever heard your man say, get to the bottom line? Does this story have an end? Right? Let me ask the men in here. Men, what is the number one goal that women have in a conversation? This is what it sounds like up here. I'll go for that sandwich you're talking about. Mustard, that sounds pretty good. I don't know. It's what researchers call rapport talk. Rapport. In other words, sometimes for women, the content isn't nearly as important as whether or not we're connecting in this moment. And so the conversation is used as a bridge to connect the two of us. And that's why you'll even see, Leslie pointed this out to me some time ago, and I'm fascinated by it. Like in our church foyer, after a sermon, after the service, we'll be out in the foyer and talking to friends, and you can look around, and you'll see women, and they're not just standing around, leaning back, talking. They're leaning in towards each other. They're sometimes holding hands, and they're talking. And if you listen in, they're talking about like stupid stuff. At least from a guy's perspective, it sounds like, really, you're going to talk about that here in front of everybody, you know? You don't see two guys leaning in talking, hey, how about those Pats? Aren't they something, you know? Men and women we don't even have the same goal for a conversation. Now, of course, when it comes to problems, this is hackneyed. You know this. Women, you bring a problem home to your man, what does he want to do with your problem? He wants to solve it. He wants to fix that problem. And why does he do that? And I want women to understand this. And guys, why do we do that? Tell me, why do we do that? Why are we almost compulsive about solving her problem? What? Because we love them. I love that answer. That's exactly right, because I'm going to give you a sex book. Who said that? There you go. All right. I love that. Yeah, because we love you. I want women to know this. We're solving that problem because we're trying to give you the very best thing we know how to give. It really is true. When we have a problem, we're looking for a solution, and we assume that's what you're looking for too. But you're not. It's really weird. Women are not looking to solve that problem. It's just it's so different because, see, a guy, you put a problem down in front of a guy, and immediately his frontal, this part of his brain, the frontal cortex, just fires off all kinds of signals because even if it's not his problem to solve. You put a little puzzle on a table, even if it's somebody else's puzzle, he'll just start looking at it like, I wonder how I go about that. Wait, have you ever seen this? It's like a Saturday, and your guy's standing like at the front window of your house, and he's got a cup of coffee, he's just looking out, and he sees the neighbor across the street, and he's working on his lawn, and he goes, what's Joe doing? And Joe has the lawnmower flipped over, and he's got some tools out, and your husband goes, I'll be right back. And he just goes over and starts looking at how Joe, you're going to use that, right? And before you know it, there's 3 or 4 guys in the neighborhood, and they're all, we just can't help it. We want to solve problems. And so when you bring us a problem, we're giving you the very best thing we know how to give. Now, if I bring a problem home to Leslie, does she want to solve that problem? What does she want to do with that problem? Yeah, she wants to explore that problem. She wants to look at the many facets of that problem. She wants to talk about how that problem is, well, it's kind of like a problem she once had. Only it was different. In fact, her girlfriend had a problem once. It has nothing to do with my problem, but let's talk about that for a little while, too. So we're going to take a tour through Problemville together. This could take a while. Bring a sandwich. It really is true. By the way, I know some of you are visual learners, and if this isn't sinking in, I brought this image that I thought might be helpful for a few of us. It's just... When we talk about gender differences, we're talking about big, broad brush strokes. And by the way, for about 8 to 9, 10% of you, you can actually reverse the roles and you find each other. It's a fascinating little thing in marriage, but that's a big picture. The gender gap, it's not just perception, but it's the gender gap. The question still remains, what do we do? How do you use conflict to your advantage? Like I say so many times, conflict is the price we pay for a deeper level of intimacy if you know how to fight a good fight. How do you do that? Well, it begins by knowing what to avoid. And there's 4 things you want to avoid. In fact, the research shows the first is criticism, as you can see, but the research comes actually out of Seattle by a fellow named John Gottman. He's retired, but worked for 30 years. He's been able to predict whether a marriage will succeed or fail based solely on the presence of these 4 things, and he does this with a 94% accuracy rate. He calls these the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, all right? So they usher in doom, right? And criticisms, that's how every conflict starts, with you always make us late, right? That critical comment. And that leads to defensiveness, which is only natural. Once you've been attacked, once an arrow has kind of come at you, put up your shield, you defend, you put your armor on. The interesting thing about defensiveness, it never resolves a conflict. In fact, it always escalates it. Has anybody tried to defend himself and that worked? Right? It doesn't work. It always escalates the problem. That leads to number 3, which is contempt. Now, that's anything that makes you feel about an inch tall. It's usually sarcastic. Way to go, Einstein. Regular genius, aren't you? Right? Sometimes the most contemptuous thing we ever do is without uttering a word, we roll our eyes at look at your spouse right now, just roll your eyes at him or her. You ever seen that before, right? I got to tell you that we ought to pass laws in Congress against contempt in marriage. It's lethal. It's toxic. And that leads to number 4, which is stonewalling. Stonewalling, where if you don't leave physically, you leave emotionally. And guys tend to get to stonewalling quicker than women do. And guys, you know the experience. It happens up here in your trapezius muscles and goes up in your neck. And you kind of look like a stone wall, right? And what do you want me to say? I'll say, what do you want me to do? I'll do it, right? Been there? These are the 4 things you want to avoid. Some of you are looking at this list going, this doesn't look good. We got some of that. Hey, welcome to marriage. We all have some of this, right? But these are the things you want to avoid. And what he's looking for are the couples that don't know how to short circuit it because they don't have the tools. Tools like this next thing I want to give you, which is the XYZ formula. The XYZ formula. And it goes like this. In situation X, when you do Y, I feel Z. In situation X, when you do Y, I feel Z. When we're driving down the road and you turn the radio station without asking me first, I kind of feel like you're ignoring me. Situation X, you do Y, I feel. That's very different than saying, who made you king of the radio? Right? That's contempt. So this is a little thing, you put it into practice. It's super, super simple because we want simple in the heat of the battle. We don't want some complex formula. This is a way to turn a criticism into a complaint. And here's some good news for all of us whiners. Complaining is good for your marriage. Write that one down. Complaining is good for your marriage. Isn't that good news? Why? Because we got to be genuine. We got to be authentic. But that's very different than being critical of your spouse. To talk about how you really feel. In situation X, you do Y, I feel Z. Here's another one. I want to give you this. In fact, I want to close with this. And for some of you, I'm convinced that what I'm about to share with you will be a life changer, a game changer for your relationship. I've taught it to hundreds of thousands of couples, and what it does is decrease the level of tension and increase the level of intimacy. How does it work? It's called sharing withholds. Every day in every marriage, there's information that we withhold from one another. Not because we're secretive or private, it's just because we're traveling so fast. Speed of life, we don't get to talk about everything that registers in our mind. And so we have positive withholds, we have negative withholds, right? A positive withhold, maybe Leslie, like she observed some interaction between my son Jackson and me, and Leslie was thinking, wow, how did he do that? That was like some parental jujitsu he just did there. It was incredible. And I've been wanting to help Jack do that, and I just saw him do it. And she's thinking, I'll tell it. I'm not going to interrupt that, but I'll tell him later. And, a day goes by, 2 days, and she forgets to tell me. It was a positive withhold. It was like a compliment that registered for her, but she didn't share it with me. And I'm guessing that happens a lot for Leslie. So here's the truth. It does happen a lot for Leslie, and it happens a lot for me, and it happens a lot for you guys too, because positive things register all the time. And think of something in the last 48 hours about your spouse that has registered positive that you haven't shared with him or her yet. It takes a little while for the wheels to turn, but we all have those positive withholds. And then we have negative withholds. A negative withhold is, like Leslie might say, you did something that is not going to surprise you because this really bothers me, and you've done it every once in a while. And I came in, I looked at my desk in the kitchen, and you had put a little stack of my receipts, all my Starbucks receipts, and then you put a little Post-it note on the front, and you wrote in a red Sharpie, you just wrote the word really with a question mark. That's a negative withhold, right? All right, and here's how this works. We jot down 3 withholds that have happened within the last 48 hours. 2 positive, 1 negative. And then we just simply share those. And after we share each one of those, like she would say that thing about the receipts, and I would respond with 2 words. Those 2 words are what? Exactly, thank you. Not I'm sorry, because I may not be sorry yet. It's about just thank you for expressing the information. That's all this is sharing that information. So we both do that. She would share her 3 withholds. She might say, hey, here's a withhold. I came into the kitchen the other day, and I went to bed. I was so exhausted after working on homework and stuff with the boys, and I was just exhausted, and I left the kitchen a mess, and that's my area. I didn't expect you to touch it, but I got up in the morning. You would wipe down all the countertops and put the dishes away. And I never did thank you. It's been 2 days, and I never did thank you. Right? That would be a positive withhold. That's never happened, but that would be a positive withhold. So we would both do that. After she shares her, then it would be my turn to share my 3 withholds. By the way, one of the things we've learned through experience, the person who goes second needs to stick with their 3 original withholds. Right? You understand? And then here's the caveat for the whole thing of sharing withholds. After you both share those, for the next 30 minutes, those negative withholds are off limits. We don't talk about those negative withholds for the next 30 minutes. Now, it's not like we sit there for a half hour and just go, all right, 10 more minutes, you're going to get it, you know? We just go on with life. And the vast majority of the time, we don't even have to talk about it. It was just enough to be heard. But I'm telling you, if you will do this, it's incredible what it can do for your relationship. We often tell newlyweds, choose your ruts carefully because you're going to be in them for a long time, right? This is a way to carve a new groove into your relationship if you'll do that, even if you've been married for 60 years. You carve this groove in your relationship by doing this little exercise. Share withholds. Takes less than 10 minutes out of your week. You do that for the next 4 weeks, and I'm telling you, you're going to be smarter in your marriage. You came to smart. This is one way to get smart in your marriage. Share withholds. Carve that new groove into your relationship. Just out of curiosity, how many say, Les, I like the idea. I'm going to try it. Let me see your hand. Love that. Love that. If you want to drill down a little bit deeper on this, I got to tell you about something I am so excited about. It's an online, have you guys heard of eHarmony? If you haven't, you got to watch more television. But eHarmony, Leslie and I were at the kitchen table when that idea was born with Neil Clark Warren, and he launched that company, worked with him for that first 10 years. In the midst of that, I said, hey, someday I want to build a tool for couples that are already matched, that are already together, an online tool. And we did this in this little thing that we call the Deep Love Assessment. And so I just want to mention it very quickly because it's not a book out there. It's a little kind of card that has an inkjetted code on it. You take 10 minutes, the 2 of you, to answer a series of questions, and it'll generate a 10-page customized report, a roadmap, a personalized roadmap for lifelong love for you two, specific to you two and your 2 personalities. There's no guilt, there's no condemnation, no shame, no blame. It's all positive stuff. So if you're interested, you can ask them for that out there at the table. What an honor to get to do this. I want to close with a final thought here. And in fact, we're going to read this in unison. It's so perfect in this location. We just got to do this. So let's do this on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. According to research at Cambridge University, it doesn't matter in what order the letters in a word are. The only important thing is that the first and last letter be at the right place. The rest can be a total mess. This is because the human mind does not read every letter by itself. Ta-da! Incredible, right? You may have come into SMART today feeling like my life is a mess, my relationships are a mess, my money is a mess. That's why you're here, because you're going to get smart, and it's going to make sense. I promise you that. Thanks so much.
Let's hear it for Dr. Les Parrott, my man. Give it
I'm going to sign that book.
Wasn't he great? What a start to the day. Fantastic. Did you ever think fighting could be so much fun? Good times. Now, I got engaged recently, just a few months ago, and my fiance flew from Nashville to be here today. Everyone say hi, Whitney. Oh, that was fun. She's mortified and excited at the same time right now, and that's what we love to see here at Smart Conference. So that felt like free premarital counseling, so I really appreciate that, Dr. Les. He ain't cheap, so I appreciate the free lesson there. So I hope you took notes on that one, Whitney. You're going to need it. Yeah. I'm not going to. Okay, that was a bad idea. I take that back immediately. Instant regret. So Dr. Les is one half of our newest event we have called Money and Marriage. How many of you have heard of Money and Marriage? That's right. If you've heard of it, you know that the other half, the better half, I like to say, is our friend Rachel Cruz. Yes. Now, I've gotten to know Rachel personally while traveling for these events, and what I love about Rachel is that she's the same person on stage and off. She's gracious, she's hilarious, she's relatable, she feels like a new friend the instant you meet her, the instant you hear her speak. She's the daughter of Dave Ramsey. She is a now 3-time best-selling author. My personal favorite happens to be the #1 national bestseller, Love Your Life, Not Theirs. Incredible book. Yeah, you can clap for that. That thing is going bananas. Now, you may have seen her on shows like Rachel Ray, Live with Kelly and Ryan, Good Morning America, Fox and Friends. She's spoken on stages all across the country, and now she's here in Boston to talk to you. So please help me welcome to the stage in a big way, Rachel Cruz.
Hello. Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you. So every year, my husband, Winston, and I, we go on a trip with his family for spring break. So just last week was our spring break in Nashville. So we went to the beach. We go to the beach with them every year. And it's spring break, P.S. Boston, it was snowing yesterday. I was like, someone tell Boston it is spring. Like, this is crazy. But we went to the beach, and so we just got back. So I was unpacking my suitcase, and I was talking to one of my friends, and she and her husband had taken their daughter to Disney World. Now, Disney World is a subject within our marriage. It was good for me to hear Les's whole talk. In our marriage, that is a point of, you could say conflict. You could say, contention. I like to call them marriage building opportunity moments that we have. Because I have wanted to take our girls to Disney World. Amelia will be 3, our oldest, next week, actually, which is crazy. And the moment she was born, I was like, I want to take her to Disney World. Like, she needs to experience the happiest place on earth. And now she loves all the princesses. So I'm like, why would we not want her to meet Ariel in real life? Like, this is crazy. Why are we not taking her? And Winston's whole thought is, why are we spending all of this money? Why would we spend all that money on a memory that she would never have? Like, she's not going to remember this trip, Rachel. This trip would be for you. I was like, yeah, you're exactly right. It would be. Because I want to see the magic in my daughter's eyes. That's the truth. So this point of Disney World is this moment in our marriage for us. And so my friend is talking about the character breakfast that they took their daughter to, and she dressed up in the princess dress. I mean, the whole thing. And I'm unpacking our suitcase last week, and I'm like, man, I wish that was us. Why didn't we do that? As I'm unpacking my suitcase from a trip. And that's the moment that I realized, I'm like, gosh, we are such a society, a culture today where we let other people dictate not just how we live our lives, but ultimately how we're spending our money. And you could say that those other people are the Joneses, right? Keeping up with the Joneses. But 30 years ago, the Joneses, you actually had to see them in person to compare your life to them, right? But today we carry them around in our back pockets on our phones, and especially thanks to social media, we get to see a picture into everyone's life, don't we? And doesn't that just frustrate you sometimes? I'm like, I have such a love-hate relationship with Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, because it's like the best part of everyone's life, isn't it? I was looking at Instagram, and one of my friends, she has 3 kids, and I remember they were out at a picnic in the park, and she had this beautiful picnic blanket and this wicker picnic basket, and all 3 kids are in matching outfits, and they're eating this homemade, non-GMO, gluten-free snacks. And I swear the sun was like beaming right on the blanket. And all 3 kids, now if you have more than one, this is an impossible feat, so you know. All 3 kids are laughing. So they're like, ha, 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 ha. And she has this picture up, and she was like, beautiful day at the park with some homemade goodies. And at the time, my baby was like taking her diaper off in the living room. And I was like, oh my gosh, we need to go to the park, right? You know, or you're scrolling through Facebook and you see your friends and they've just remodeled their kitchen. And you're like, man, they now have granite countertops. And you're like, oh, it's like Joanna Gaines just walked in and like waved her wand and now there's shiplap in the kitchen and it's beautiful. You're like, man. Or you see someone and they got a new car and they're like, oh, always wanted a Mercedes. And there's their picture. And it's so hard because I'm like, what we don't see are what? The kids running around the restaurant screaming. And as parents, if you've been there, you're like sweating and trying to get the check and you're just like, oh my gosh. Like we don't see that part. We don't see possibly the second mortgage that was taken out on that home to redo that kitchen. And now the bills are stressing out that family. And you definitely don't see the 1990 Honda Civic with 300,000 miles, put it on Facebook. Like, oh, look what my hubby just bought me. Hashtag blessed. No, we don't see that. We just see, again, the best parts of our lives. And what's hard, you guys, is that comparison, it will not just steal your joy in the moment, but it'll steal your paycheck. Because you will spend your money trying to keep up a lifestyle that you think everyone else is living and you're missing out on. So for today, here at the SMART Conference, I want you all, everyone here in Boston, I want you to put the blinders on, and I want you to focus on your life, on your marriage, on your parenting, on who your life, who you are on your life, and not everyone else's. Because Boston, I want you to love your life, not theirs. So put the blinders on and focus, you guys. And for this morning, right now, focus on your money. And that's what we're gonna talk about. I wanna give you 7 money habits for living the life you love. And the first habit is quit the comparisons. Quit the comparisons. It's kind of what we were just talking about. And I wish it was that easy. I wish I could just say to you guys, okay, quit the comparisons. You're like, yeah, great. But it's so much easier said than done. And so for me, I have found one word that has helped me with this subject over and over again. And I actually implemented it when I was unpacking my suitcase recently from our trip. And that word is gratitude. Being grateful. Because in a heart filled with gratitude, there is no room for comparisons and discontentment. Because when you are grateful for what you have, when you are thankful, that breeds contentment. And you can become content. Not apathetic, you can still be striving for more, but content, which will help you quit the comparisons. And I started actually a comparison, or I call it a gratitude list on my phone. So every morning I type down 2 things in the notes section of my iPhone that I'm grateful for. So now I have this running long list of everything I have. So when those comparisons do creep up, you have all these words, all these moments in your life that you can be thankful for. Again, because gratitude is key in this. Because I'm telling you, if you don't make quitting the comparisons a habit, the road to comparison will always dead end with debt, which is habit number 2, steering clear of debt. Steering clear of debt. Now, debt is such an interesting topic. It's such an interesting word in our world today because it's so normal. This whole thing has been so normalized that we almost forget what debt is. I was speaking at a university and the student came up to me right before the talk and he was like, hey, are you the money girl? Are you talking about money? I was like, yeah, that's me. And he was like, oh, cool. Well, I just want to tell you that I'm debt-free. And I was like, you are? I mean, a college student who's debt-free, it's like a unicorn. You don't exist. And so I said, oh my gosh, I want to hear your story. I want to know how you're doing it. Because I love hearing that because, you know, you hear all these amazing stories of these students who actually do it debt-free. And he looked at me and he kind of put his head to the side And as he was responding, I was expecting, I got scholarships and grants, or I'm working, or my parents are helping pay for it. But he looked at me and he said, no, I have $26,000 in student loans, but I'm debt free. Yeah. And you guys, I hear that all the time. Yeah, we don't have any debt. We don't have any debt. Now our car loan, or our credit card bill. So I want to tell you, this is what debt is. Are you ready? Debt is owing anything to anyone for any reason. That is debt. Owing anything to anyone for any reason. And in Scripture, it talks about this. In Proverbs, it says that the borrower is... We're at a Dave Ramsey event, aren't we? Slave to the lender. And for a lot of you, this started at 18, right? You were graduating high school, and the next step, obviously, is going to college. And people say, oh, yeah, go to college, go to college. Oh, you don't know what you want to study? That's okay. Then go to a school that you can't afford and get a degree that you're never going to use, but go. So you go sign up for student loans. And a lot of you are old enough to remember that while, like I, myself, when you're on campus, the credit card companies were everywhere, weren't they? Now there's some laws in place that they're not as much, but you go and you got that free pizza or free t-shirt and signed up for that credit card. And then you graduated college, you're getting your first job, and you're like, I have to look professional, and so I can't be driving, this college car that I've had is just a piece of junk, no one's gonna take me seriously. So you go on the car lot and you go buy a brand new car. And then you meet the love of your life, you guys get married, you come back from your honeymoon, and everyone says, oh, you haven't bought a house? You're married and you haven't bought a house? You gotta buy a house. Buy a house, buy a house, buy a house. You're renting? No. Renting is just throwing your money away. You can't rent. Renters go to hell. Don't rent. Don't rent. You gotta buy a house. Buy a house, buy a house, buy a house. And you're like, okay, well, we have student loans still, we have credit card debt, we have car loans, but we'll go ahead and just take on a mortgage. And you live your life month to month. And you become the statistics that the number one thing with student loan debt now, when students are graduating, close to $36,000 in student loan debt. Average family in America owes $15,000 on their credit cards. One of the leading causes of divorce in America today, money fights and money problems. Why? Because 70% of America lives paycheck to paycheck. And this is what we have just completely surrendered to, this idea that this is gonna be our life. And I could sit here again and rattle off even more statistics, but I can't tell you the shame and humiliation of watching a friend whose credit card gets declined at the restaurant. Or the embarrassment as I'm talking to a 32-year-old man who his parents still have to help him out financially. Or that fear you feel when you know that there's a stack of bills on the table and there's not gonna be money to pay them. You guys, that is what debt has done to us. Not only does it affect us financially, but emotionally. My friend Chris Hogan says that debt is a thief. It not just steals your income from you, it steals your peace of mind. It steals your sleep at night. And us as Ramseys, we know this. I mean, Mom and Dad, they filed bankruptcy the year I was born. So we know what debt has done and what it has caused. And I'm here to tell you guys that with this part of it, I so badly want you to know that your past does not have to dictate your future. Today, when we were talking earlier, that's in the rear view mirror, you guys. Yes, are you going to have to work hard to get it cleaned? Absolutely, and we'll talk about that. But what you can do today is decide to do something different and say, you know what? I am so tired of this. I'm so tired of living like this. I want to change. And as Dad said earlier, you can. And you can do it. But you have to decide. So the most effective way to get out of debt is this. We call it the debt snowball, where you list out all of your debts, smallest to largest, regardless of the interest rate, pay minimum payments on everything, and pay off the smallest debt first. And when you're doing this, you guys, I mean, you are putting all the extra money you have towards that smallest debt. And you are sacrificing lifestyle. You're selling all the stuff in your house. I mean, I watched the Minimalist documentary the other day. I'm telling you, I'm not gonna be a minimalist, but I was like, we have so much crap in our lives, don't we? We just buy a bunch of stuff. And I'm like, get rid of it for this time. Like, you can get it back later if you want, but now just sell it, get rid of it, get an extra job. Right? Go do something. I mean, you can even drive with Lyft, right? We talked about that earlier, but I'm like, yes, I use that in every city. Yes, Lyft, right there, I know. But really, do something different, you guys. Do something to bring in that money and pay it off. And once that smallest debt's paid off, you roll everything to the second smallest, and you keep going and going, and that momentum gets you to the point where you have no payments, and you are debt-free. And it's amazing because that's one of my favorite calls on Dad's radio show, is when people call in to do the debt-free scream. Have you heard it? It's the best. And what's so fun, many of you know, that people actually come to our offices in Nashville, and they fly and drive from all over the country. I mean, it's so wild to come to the lobby, because Dad actually does the radio show there in the lobby. And it's on this big glass wall, and then there's a coffee shop called Martha's Place across the lobby, and there's coffee and desserts and everything. So it's like this whole setup. So people come from everywhere to stand in the lobby to do their debt-free screams. And it's one of my favorite parts about working there at the office in Nashville, because I can walk through that lobby at any point on any given day, and I get to meet these people. I see these people. You know, you'll meet the 56-year-old couple who came in from Oklahoma City, and they just made their last mortgage payment. I mean, they have no debt, not even their mortgage. You'll meet the single mom. Y'all are so enthusiastic, I love it. You'll meet that single mom who drove up from Atlanta with her 12-year-old son, and as a single mom, she paid off $23,000 in a year. It's amazing. But I'll tell you, the ones that always get me are the young families that come in, because the door to our office will open up and a little 5-year-old boy will come sprinting in because he's been in the car for 8 hours. And then a dad will come in behind him with a little 3-year-old girl on his hip, and she has little blonde curly hair. And then a very, very tired mom comes in behind them with a baby carrier, and she just had their 3rd baby. And there's this family, and the parents are getting ready for the call, and they've come in, and they've gotten out of debt, and they're putting on their headsets with the microphone, and they can see across the lobby, and they can see Dave there in the studio, and as they start on this call, they start explaining what they've done. And these people, I believe, are the real life heroes of today. Because that dad, you know, he took 2 extra jobs. For almost 3 years, he worked extra. The mom said, I'm exhausted. We haven't taken vacation. She started something from home to make some extra income. But you look at these parents, and I'm sitting there as a parent with 2 girls, and I'm, you know, watching them, and I'm like, man. I look at the mom, and I'm like, you do have to be exhausted. Like, you've basically been a single mom for this journey because of the sacrifice your husband's made. And looking at the husband, thinking, how many soccer games did you possibly miss because of what you've done? But that moment, they get to have that headset on, and then Dad gets to say those magical words. He'll say, okay, guys, count it down. Let's hear your big debt-free scream. And those parents who moved mountains for not just themselves, but their kids, they get to look at each other and they get to say, okay. And they look at the kids, and the kids are jumping up and down because they're excited. They have a job to do. And they've been practicing for 8 hours for this moment. But those parents lean down and they say, okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. And in unison, this whole family with these little chipmunk voices in the background just scream out, "We're debt free!" And every time I hear that call or I see those people, I mean, it chokes me up, it makes me cry. And I just want to grab that little girl's face and just say, do you have any idea what your parents have just done for you? Do you have any idea the legacy that's going to be left for you? Because I was you. I was that little girl. But my parents decided to do something different. So getting out of debt, yes, financially, is it going to take you on a completely different path? Are you going to be able to do things you never thought you could imagine? Absolutely. But more importantly, is it changes the legacy that you leave on this earth for your friends and the people around you and your family. So getting out of debt, you guys, it's so huge. And I will tell you too, the most efficient way that you can do this and make this a reality, make this a habit in your life to get out of debt and stay out of debt, is wrapping into habit number 3, which is so important as well, which is to make a plan for your money. Make a plan for your money. And I would say, simply speaking, that plan is a budget. Now, we have 2 types of people in the room here today. Some people that, when I said the word budget, you were like, yes, this is the point I've been waiting for all day, and you're getting your laptop out with your Excel sheet or EveryDollar, and you are ready for this. You love being organized, you love being in control, it just feels good to know what is happening. How many of you are that? Yes, you're the nerds, we call you. You're the most enthusiastic nerds I think I've had in a long time, yes. That's Winston within our marriage, because usually opposites attract. So the other spouse, or if you're not the nerd, then you're probably like me, the free spirits. How many free spirits do we have? Yes. We're exciting as well. And free spirits, we're just a little bit more like, you know what? Everything's gonna be fine. It'll work itself out. I'm just not too worried. And I'll tell you, that is so me. And so doing a budget, this habit for me personally was the hardest habit for me to get into. Because I always pictured a budget as just being, really constrictive or cheap sounding. Like every time I heard people talk about a budget, it was like, well, we can't go out to eat, we're on a budget. We can't go shopping, we're on a budget. Yeah, vacation, oh no, we're on a budget. My golly, people on budgets are not very fun people. Like if that's life with a budget, no thank you, I don't want to. And so I really resisted it. I knew I should be doing a budget, but doing it was just very hard for me. So Winston and I, when we got married, we've been married now, I guess, almost 8.5 years. So this was 8.5 years ago. We got married and we actually didn't do a budget for like the first probably 6 months of marriage. And finally Winston came and he was like, Rachel, we have got to do a budget. Like we have got to figure out what's going on. And I was like, I know, it's just, I don't want to do it. I was like, okay, fine, we need to. The first month, you all, and this is speaking, I hate to say it, as Dave Ramsey's daughter. Like I grew up in the cult. Like, okay, like I know how to do this stuff. But still doing it was so hard. And we messed it up, like majorly. I think we budgeted $50 for food or something so stupid. Like we didn't know what we were doing. And so it took a while, or I say a while, it took about 3 months. And that's what we tell people, and it is true, about 90 days. So if you've never done a budget before, give yourself 90 days for your budget to work, 3 months. And after the 3rd month of doing it, it really did. It started working, and it was like, okay, we adjusted the categories enough, and it was working. And so we really did a budget consistently ever since then. But right before our first daughter, Amelia, right before we decided to start a family, we decided to go on one last vacation. And so we're like, okay, before, we get pregnant and do all that, like, let's just go enjoy life one last time. It's true. Because I've realized with kids, you no longer, when you're with your kids, you do not go on a vacation, you go on a trip. It's a trip. So this was a vacation. And so we were flying down to Florida. We were going to spend a couple of days there. And on the airplane, Winston looked at me and he said, hey, Rachel, listen, you've been like traveling like crazy. I mean, work is nuts. It was crazy for him too. But he said, I want you to really relax this trip. I don't want you to think about the budget. You can just spend money. And he said, but if you're bumping up against the budget, I'll let you know, but you can just enjoy. And I turned to him and I said, so you're telling me I don't have to think about a budget and I can just spend money? He was like, oh yeah. I gave him the biggest kiss in the world. I was like, babe, you're letting me live in my strengths. This is what I'm good at. I was like, okay. So we check into the hotel, we go down to the pool, and it was like this really fun, modern looking pool. And so we're down there, and it's one of those hotels that, I don't know if you've been to one, but waiters and waitresses will come by to your seat, and you can order food and drink to your seat. It's amazing, amazing. So the waitress walks by, and I asked her, I said, hey, do you guys have chips and guacamole? She was like, yeah. I was like, I'll take an order of that. So I'm eating it, and it's delicious. And so then I get thirsty, and I was like, hey, do you guys have lemonade? Or I'm sorry, no, I asked her for a menu, because I wanted to see the menu. And so I open the menu, and I look at appetizers. It says chips and guacamole. $23. $23. I was like, did the avocados fall from heaven? Like, what makes guacamole $23? So then I go down and I see lemonade. I thought, oh, that sounds good. $12. $12. Like, it didn't have alcohol in it, people. Like, lemonade. And she comes by at that point and she says, ma'am, do you know what you'd like to drink? And I was looking at her and I just thought, Rachel, spend the money. Spend the money. Go back to your roots. Go back to who you were. Spend the money. And I was like, I'll take the lemonade, please. I couldn't even say it. She brings it over to me and I took a sip. I was like, well, that was $1.50. But I'm sitting there with this guacamole and this lemonade, and I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? What am I doing? This is crazy. Like, tonight, we probably can't get appetizers at dinner. We're gonna have to go to Walgreens and get granola bars for breakfast. Like, what am I doing? And I looked at Winston, I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. I can't do it. He was like, what? I was like, I have to know what the budget is. I have to know what the budget is. And that moment, it just hit me like a ton of bricks, and I thought, wow. It wasn't the ridiculous prices, even though it was ridiculous. It was not the ridiculous prices that were stressing me out. It was that for the first time at that point, it had been 4 years since we had been married. About 3.5 years, I had not felt that stress and that anxiety like I was feeling of not knowing what was going on financially. And that's the moment I realized as a spender that a budget actually is like permission to spend. You give yourself money to say you can spend in this area. Now, are there limits and boundaries? Absolutely. But it gives you a plan and a framework to work through. So I'll tell you this quickly. The most effective budget is taking your income, and you're doing this every single month. Your income minus your expenses equals 0. So every dollar coming in is assigned to a category. And we have a budgeting tool called Every Dollar and Every Dollar Plus, and it's amazing. Download it. You can download it on your iPhone or Android or use it on your laptop, whatever it is. It's a great place, a jump start for you to start budgeting, or if you have budgeted before, still download it because it gives you this great framework. But getting intentional and saying on purpose, this is what I'm doing with my money, is one of the ways you're going to win financially. It's probably the biggest mistake people make is that they're not intentional. And a budget helps you do that. Make that a habit. Again, habit number 3, make a plan for your money. Habit number 4, think before you spend. We are seeing 3,000 to 5,000 media messages a day telling us what to buy. I mean, it's insane. And I'll say this, you can $20 yourself to death. Doing Starbucks, walking into Target, which is like the black hole of goodness. You can spend so much money so fast if you just don't think. Think before you spend. Take the impulse out of it. Think before you spend. Habit number 5 is to save like you mean it. Save like you mean it. And this is hard because we all know we should save money. But for a lot of people, they just don't. And so you have to realize if steering clear of debt, if you're gonna be getting out of debt and staying out of debt, is gonna be a part of your life going forward, saving money is your only option. Because debt and saving, they're basically opposites. With debt, you pay interest. With saving, you earn interest. With debt, you take on risk. Savings lowers your risk. Debt steals your future. Savings secures it. With debt, you owe. With saving, you own. So you have to learn to save money. So that's why I always tell people to put your saving, it's to be the second line item on your budget. The second line item, you have to save, whether it's for an emergency fund, whether it's for retirement, which Chris Hogan's gonna talk about, whether it's for a new car, whatever it is, you have to save and make it a priority on your budget. Now, your first priority on your budget, where saving is number 2, your first priority is giving, which is habit number 6, to give a little until you can give a lot. Be giving something. John D. Rockefeller said, I never would have been able to tithe, which is giving 10% of your money away. I never would have been able to tithe the first $1 million I ever made if I didn't tithe my first salary, which was $1.50 a week. And so giving, as you're doing it, you're gonna realize as you start this process, I've heard people say this so many times, it ends up that it's not a math issue, because a lot of people say, oh, if I just had more money, I could give. It's not a math issue, it's a heart issue. It's a value issue, deciding where you're going to put your money and where you're gonna give. And I just wanna encourage you that giving, it's the most fun you can have with money. When you live your life with an open hand, you're an amazing person. Do you know people like this that do this, not only financially, but with their time, with their conversation? I mean, there are people that just, they give and they serve others really, really well. Those people are attractive people, aren't they? And they have this sense of joy in them that you don't see in people that live their lives like this. With that closed fist and this, I'm just gonna keep everything here. Open your hand and give. Experience the joy of giving. Duke University found that in a study that if you are the recipient of a good deed, you have momentary happiness, but long-term happiness comes when you are the giver. So be giving something. It's powerful. Habit number 7 is talk about money even when it's hard. Talk about money even when it's hard. If you're married in here and you've never talked about money, it's gonna be awkward. It's gonna be a little weird because it's a very vulnerable place in our conversations and in our lives if you've not opened up with your spouse. But I'm telling you, this is so key. And just we don't have time. We have that money and marriage event that George mentioned. So we unpacked so much of that in there, so we don't have time today to do that. But let me just give you 3 things if you're married in here. Do your budget together. That's gonna force communication like anything else. It's amazing. You get on the same page. Combine your bank accounts. Do not have separate bank accounts if you're married. You have one checking account, one account. And also dream together. Have goals in the future together. This could be financial, this could be job, I don't care. But together, be on the same path. And that unity, the unity that you'll experience in your marriage if you do those things is absolutely incredible, absolutely incredible. Now, if you're single in here, you need to find someone in your life who is good with their money. Someone that is wise, that you can say, hey, I have got to talk to you about this, and let them know what is going on. Because when you're single in here, you are in charge of everything, right? I mean, you're the one that has to go to the grocery store. You're the one that has to change the oil in your car. I mean, you're doing it all. So to have another person's thought with you is massive. And when you're not communicating, you're in the dark, which creates a lot of fear and anxiety for people. But it's amazing when you start to communicate how freeing that is. So to have that person in your life is so, so important. And also with your kids, talk to your kids about money, parents. This is huge. People think that as Ramseys, that mom and dad, like, we're these like little money robots, and we talked about money all the time, and we like had mutual fund parties and like all this stuff. And I can look back and say, we're actually relatively normal people, I think. And mom and dad just did such a great job of just communicating with us and teaching us and talking about it. And even making us work. Like we were never given an allowance. We were always on commission. Yeah, we were. But with that money we earned, we gave and spent and saved, and we did all these things as kids. And so let your kids do that. Let them experience how to handle money under your roof. Let them make mistakes. Let them buy that little crappy toy that you're like, oh, it's gonna break the moment we get home, but I'm gonna talk to them about it. I'm gonna try to convince them, but let them make those mistakes. That's good. Let them learn, parents. Let them learn from you. Talk to them about money. So all of these habits today, again, the theme through today is that you can hear this stuff, you can write it down, but unless you walk out of here and say, I'm gonna do something different, I'm gonna implement this into our lives, that's when it changes. And I'll tell you, mom and dad, one of my favorite philosophies of their parenting growing up was it was this picture of a rope. So this idea was that as kids, we were tied to one end of the rope and mom and dad had the other end. And depending upon how well we made decisions in life, how trustworthy we were, worthy of their trust, they would let this rope out and we would have more and more freedom to make more and more of our own decisions. But if we made a bad decision, then they would pull the rope back in. Like I remember being 13 or 14, and I was dropped off at the movies with some friends, and we decided not to go see the movie. We decided to walk across the street to McDonald's and get ice cream, and that was before cell phones and all of that. And so mom could not find me. I mean, it was like this big ordeal. Finally, we connected and we got home and we had a family meeting about it that night, AKA Rachel's in trouble again. And I remember Dad saying, Rachel, you are not where you said you were going to be. And so because of that, we can't trust you next time we drop you off that that's where you're gonna be. You didn't call us on the payphone. I mean, you didn't do anything. You just left. And so we're gonna have to pull the rope back in. Now, if you've had a 13-year-old daughter in your house recently, you know 2 people live inside of her. A 3-year-old and a 33-year-old. And I remember I was like, I just want to be treated like an adult. I wish you would just treat me like an adult. He's like, well, you acted like a 3-year-old, and so we're gonna have to treat you like that. But if you wanna be an adult and be responsible, and you show us that, then yes, we can treat you more like an adult. And so fast forward a year, I was at a high school party, and some adult beverages were being passed around. And I remember thinking, if I'm caught at this party, my life is over forever. And so I went in a back bedroom and called my mom, and I was like, hey, will you come pick me up? And I remember I got into the car in the passenger seat, and she was quiet for a second. And then she turned to me and she said, Rachel, that was a really good decision. That was a really good decision. You get lots of rope. Lots of rope, Rachel. That was amazing. That shows that we can trust you. So this rope conversation was constant in our house. And so when my sister Denise, my older sister, was leaving for college, when she was graduating high school and going to college, it was the night before she left. And if you've had one leave for school, you know that this is a really big deal, especially the first kid. It's a big deal. So we had dinner in the dining room, I remember, and we ate off the plates that you only eat off for like Thanksgiving and Christmas, and we had cloth napkins. Like, Mom made this huge meal, and we went around the table, and we were telling stories about Denise, and we were laughing and crying. It's like she was dying or something, but she wasn't. Just moving 2.5 hours away. But towards the end of the dinner, Dad pulled out this gift bag, and he pulled this out of it, a rope. And he said, Denise, tomorrow you move out. And our rope does not reach from Nashville to Knoxville, Tennessee. I love that I have a ball fan in the house. Oh my gosh. Just not expecting that in Boston. Pocket car. Didn't think you knew the balls. And he said, so now when you move, Denise, you're an adult. I mean, you really are gonna have to make your day-to-day decisions on your own. But we trust you so much, and we're so proud of you. And he took this rope, and he actually tied ribbons around the rope that symbolized different areas of her life. So, for instance, white was her purity. Purple was her spiritual walk. Orange was because she was going to the University of Tennessee. Go Vols. Yes. Red was her academics, and yellow was if she ever needed to come home. And he took this rope and he said, Denise, we're so proud of you, and you're gonna leave tomorrow. We all gave hugs, and remember, he sat with this rope and he handed her that rope. And we all just cried. And we're like, Denise, that's the whole rope. Like the whole thing. Like she's never coming back. Like it's there. Now, I'm the middle child of the Ramsey family, so the neglected and abused child. The night before I went to college, we had pizza. On paper plates. And I was going off to bed, and I remember I just heard Dad yell through the house, Rachel, you need a rope, don't you? Yeah. Went to the garage and gave me this. I'll let you decide which child is their favorites, but I think we know. But I look at this rope and I see this as kind of my legacy of parents who were not perfect, but were intentional with us. And so, Boston, you have the opportunity when you leave here to decide what legacy are you going to leave specifically when it comes to your finances. Because I'm telling you, I'm so thankful that they handed us this legacy versus this legacy. In Deuteronomy, it says that I call heaven and earth as witness today against you, that I have set before you life or death, blessing or cursing. So choose life, that you and your descendants may live. Thank you, Boston, so much. Thank you, guys. Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
Rachel Cruz, everyone. Rachel, you're not going anywhere. You come out here with me. Isn't she fantastic?
Thank you.
Oh, such a great message. This is the book, Love Your Life, Not Theirs. And Rachel, this message, clearly it resonated with our crowd here today, but it's resonating with America. It's such a timely book in a comparison-driven society.
Yeah.
And we're so excited about it. But even more excited, in just 2 days, people, 2 days on Monday, you launch something new and exciting, The Rachel Cruz Show.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. So here's the deal with this show. Tell everyone out here what they can expect to see when they watch the show.
Yes, so the show is about a 25 to 30 minutes show on YouTube and Facebook is where it's launching. And so it's all about really taking control of your money and creating a life you love. So it's everything from lifestyle to cooking to home decorating to budget makeovers to real life couples and their stories. Just everything when it comes to life and money is woven all through the show. So it's fun. And I cook a lot.
Oh,
Not a great cook.
But pizza's always, people like watching pizza being made. It's
Pizza's
just fun.
on there a lot, yeah.
So here's the deal. You need to go to her YouTube channel. You can search Rachel Cruz on YouTube. Subscribe to her YouTube channel so that you don't miss it. You can even hit the little bell notification. That way, whenever new episodes are uploaded, you'll be in the know. You won't be missing out. You won't have FOMO. And that's what we like to see. So here's the deal. Our creative team put together an awesome teaser to get America pumped up about this show. Check it out.
Are you struggling to stay on budget, get out of debt, or even find new ways to save money? Well, if that's you, keep watching. This is The Rachel Cruz Show. The Rachel Cruz Show is here, and we're gonna show you how to make saving money fun. Our culture has us trying to keep up with something just out of reach. Spending money we don't have to impress people we don't even like. That's not real living. I'm here to help you make progress with your money and your life.
So your money journey, you guys, would you say, like right now in the present, you guys are in a pretty good spot?
Yes.
Has it always been like this?
No.
We're gonna talk about tough issues, celebrate the victories, and share plenty of tips on shopping, budgeting, home decorating for less, organization.
Get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. Because you start to feel the organization happen.
Happen, like,
yes.
Yeah.
So happy!
parenting, marriage, fashion, and more. If it's a part of your life, it's a part of our show.